All right, today we are going to build a digital fortress. We're going to look at every single layer that the biggest streaming services use to protect their movies. And then we're going to figure out how to break in. Let's dive right in.
I mean, really think about that for a second. You have this gigantic 50 gigabyte 4K movie file. It's huge, but it just streams perfectly to your tiny phone screen, instantly, without you ever downloading the whole thing. And yet, you can't just right-click and hit save. These two little questions are really the key to our entire story. And the answers, well, they are so much cooler than you'd probably guess.
So first things first, how do you deal with the massive problem of sending a gigantic file over the internet, which, can be slow and unreliable? Well, the short answer is you don't. Instead of trying to send one huge block of data, streaming services do something way, way smarter. It's a process called HLS, which stands for HTTP Live Streaming. The server takes that huge movie file and just chops it up into thousands of little pieces, each just a couple of seconds long. Now here's the genius part. It doesn't just make one version of each little piece. It makes a bunch of them in all different qualities, from fuzzy 480p all the way up to crystal clear 4K. Your phone is constantly talking to the server, checking your internet connection and saying, hey, my Wi-Fi is great right now, send me the 1080p chunk. But if you walk into another room and the signal dips, it immediately says, whoa, okay, quick, send me the 480p version for the next few seconds. That's called adaptive bitrate, and it's the real reason your video almost never, ever has to buffer. Okay, but if you have thousands of these little video pieces all over the place, how in the world does your phone know which one to play next? It gets its instructions from this thing, the M3U8 file. You can think of it like a map for the movie, or maybe a master playlist. It's the very first thing your browser downloads when you press play. It's just a tiny little text file that your video player reads and it goes, got it. Here's the link to the first piece, then the second, then the third. It's the instruction manual that turns all that chaos into a perfectly smooth movie.
So now we know how the video gets to us. But wait a minute. This sounds really insecure, right? I mean, if my browser can see the links to all the individual pieces, what's stopping me from just downloading all of them and stitching them back together myself? Well, that brings us to the first wall of our digital fortress, encryption. The solution is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly effective. Before any of those little video chunks even get uploaded to the server, every single one of them gets scrambled using a super strong encryption standard called AS128. It's like putting a really tough steel lock on each and every piece. So if you manage to download one of these encrypted chunks, it's not a video. It's just a garbled mess of data, completely useless. Unless you have the key. And that right there is the million-dollar question. It's the most important part of this whole system. We've got thousands of locked boxes, but we still have to get the key to you, the legitimate viewer. So how do you send that secret key across the wide-open internet to a billion different phones and laptops without a hacker just snatching it out of the air? This is the core problem that digital rights management, or DRM, is trying to solve. Now, when it comes to actually sending that key, there are levels to this. There are some really basic, almost flimsy ways to do it. And then there are the high-security, fortress-like systems that the big players like Netflix and Disney use. And believe me, the difference between them is absolutely everything. So on one side, you've got a basic method like ClearKey. It works, technically, but it's got this one massive, fatal flaw. It essentially sends the key to your browser in what I like to call a transparent envelope. Seriously, anyone with some basic developer tools can just open up their browser, look at the network traffic, and literally just see the key pop up. It's like putting a fantastic lock on your front door, but then mailing the key in a see-through plastic bag. Then you have the advanced lock, Google's Widevine. This is a totally different game. With Widevine, the key is never, ever exposed to your browser or to you. So how on earth does Widevine do that? How can it use a key to unlock the video without ever actually showing the key? Well, the secret isn't in the software that you can see, like your web browser. It's buried deep, deep down inside the physical hardware of your phone or your computer. The real magic behind Widevine is something called the Trusted Execution Environment, or TEE for short. This is a real thing. It's a secure, totally isolated area that's physically built into your device's main processor. Think of it like a secret, sealed-off room inside the chip that your regular operating system, like Windows or Android, has no access to. It can't look inside, it can't touch anything in there. This is where all the top secret work gets done. Now, not all devices are built the same, so Widevine has these security levels. The lowest is L3. On an L3 device, everything is just done in software. Because it's a little less secure and it's possible for someone to find the key in the device's memory, streaming services will only send its standard definition 480p video. But the one everyone wants is L1. On a device that's L1 certified, the locked video goes into that secret room, the key goes into that secret room, the video gets unlocked inside the secret room, and then the final watchable movie goes straight to your screen without ever touching the normal, insecure part of your computer. And here's the kicker. Your device's certification level, whether it's L1 or L3, is what actually determines if you're even allowed to watch in 4K.
And this right here explains something we have all experienced. Ever try to take a screenshot of a movie on Netflix, and all you get is a big black box? That is L1 security at work. Your screenshot tool is running in the normal world of your operating system. It's trying to see what's on the screen, but from its point of view, the video isn't there. That's because the video is on a special, hardware-protected road going directly from that secret room on the chip right to your display. Your operating system literally isn't allowed to see it. So there we have it. We've built this incredible digital fortress. We've got locked chunks of videos, secret keys, and a hardware vault inside the chip itself. It really seems unbreakable. Which leads to the obvious question, how on earth do pirated 4K movies show up online sometimes just a few hours after they're released? Well, the heist is about to begin.
See, it turns out there isn't just one front door into the fortress. Pirates will attack from every single angle you can imagine. They'll try to pick the software locks, they'll forge a hardware key, or sometimes they'll just blow a hole right through the physical wall.
The most common attack goes after the weakest link, that L3 software-only protection. Since it's all just code running on the computer, really skilled pirates can reverse engineer it. They treat it like a puzzle. They'll write little scripts that hook into the device's memory and basically just wait and listen, telling the computer, hey, the moment that decryption key is being used, just make a quick copy for me. And once they have the key, it's game over.
Okay, but what about the super secure L1? You can't just break into a modern processor chip. But what if you could find a device that already has a known hardware flaw that can't be fixed? So pirates will hunt for these cheap, older Android TV boxes that have these vulnerabilities. They can then physically extract that device's unique L1 private key. Now they have a master key. They can use it to make their own computer pretend to be that specific TV box. The streaming server has no idea. It thinks it's talking to a legitimate, secure device and happily sends over the keys for the 4K movie.
But honestly, the most brute force attack doesn't involve any clever software hacking at all. See, the video signal that travels over an HDMI cable has its own layer of copy protection called HDCP. But you can buy these cheap gray market HDMI splitters online that are specifically designed to just ignore that protection. They just strip it right off. So Pirate can play a 4K movie on a totally secure device, plug it into one of these little boxes, and what comes out the other end is a perfect, clean, unencrypted video signal ready to be recorded. It just bypasses the entire fortress.
Wow. Okay, so this whole thing feels like a losing battle, right? If these incredibly advanced, expensive systems can be broken with software and with hardware and with simple physical attacks, why even bother? Why do companies spend billions of dollars on this stuff? What is the real point? The entire answer, the whole philosophy, really comes down to this number. You see, the goal was never to create something that was 100% unbreakable. Because in the world of security, everyone knows that's just impossible. And that's the real secret behind all of this. DRM is a deterrent. It's designed to make piracy just difficult enough and inconvenient enough to stop the vast, vast majority of people, the 99% of us who just want to click a button and watch a movie. It was never really meant to stop that tiny, highly motivated, technically brilliant 1% of people who will always, always find a way through. For them, it's just a taller wall they have to climb. So in the end, what we have is this constant, perpetual cat-and-mouse game. An L3 exploit is found, so Google pushes out a mandatory update that patches it. A hardware key from some cheap TV box gets leaked online, so the streaming services just block that key from working. It's a race that just never, ever ends. And that leaves us with one final big question to think about. Is this unbelievably complex, incredibly expensive, and ultimately flawed system a necessary cost of doing business to protect the artists and creators we all love? Or is it all just a fundamentally losing battle, an arms race where the pirates will always eventually come out on top? It's something to think about next time you hit play.